When this trapdoor is open, the love that is pouring in through this central channel and recycling in this toric field is as unconditional as it gets. And it is a felt sense of wholeness and the same kind of appreciation that you would have if everybody around you agreed with you. But suddenly you realize that's not what you need at all. And it's not that you go away because you don't need it. It's that you stay in an unconditional fashion, free. And that is living awake. Welcome back to the Art of Awakening podcast, where the art of living awake becomes a daily practice. I'm your host, Dr. Sue Morter. Let me ask you this. Do you ever feel like no matter how hard you try, you're stuck in the same patterns, like you do it all and here it is again? Whether it's in your health, your relationships, or your work, maybe you feel like you're constantly pushing and striving and doing all the right things, but something still feels just kind of off or not connected. Now, what if I told you that the challenges that you face aren't random? What if they're actually reflections of how energy flows or gets stuck within you? Today, we're diving into part one of a two-part series for this very reason. In this episode, we're going to explore the invisible forces that shape your life, your health, your energy, and your potential. We're going to uncover how your thoughts, your energy, and your environment influence your body and your experience of life altogether. And we'll begin to understand how your brain, your nervous system, and your energy field work together to create either flow or friction. So today we begin the shift from survival mode to creator mode and what it really means to live awake. And so we're going to start with the flow of energy. Now, energy compresses and descends from the unified field. It funnels into a central channel and meets the earth and rises again. Now, what the heck does that mean? All right, so if we have the unified field of energy, what we know is that all physical matter is compressed energy. It's a law of physics. And so if we want to understand, well, what's the nature of the energy that is compressed into the chair that I'm sitting in or into the body that I'm living in? If we turn it around and decompress and decompress and decompress and decompress, we eventually get to this energy field that's considered the unified field, where all energies exist, kind of in equal form. Like there are no favorites. It's all just there as this infinite potential. And all physical matter, all physical experiences, everything that you've ever experienced is a version of a compression of that energy in one form or another. So your thoughts and emotions are one compression, your physical body is another, etc. So we're going to dive into how all of that starts to make a difference and how it begins to flow and formulate a whole pattern, and you're living inside of that pattern. So it's the foundation of life itself. It's what keeps you connected, aligned, and awake. The central channel is like a highway, a super highway that runs up and down through the center of your body, from above your head, down through your body, and all the way into the earth. And as energy flows through this channel, it radiates outward through what we know as levels of consciousness that become concentrated in energy centers that we know as a chakra system, for example, just to let you know that, okay, we're in the neighborhood of things that already make sense to us. But this channel dates back to ancient Egypt. It's called the River of Life. In ancient India, the Sushumna. This central channel is truly where our life force is the most concentrated, deep in the core of our being. So as it radiates and emanates into other various vibrational frequencies because of different levels of compression or decompression, your chakras, which are points of energy flow, where energy moves in and out, influencing everything from your physical health to your emotional states to your sense of connection. So while there was a time where the chakra system was sort of poo-pooed in scientific circles, there is a meeting point where quantum science is bringing us into a forced acceptance of what Eastern cultures have known for thousands of years. So, it's always so nice to be smart enough to listen to something that's thousands of years old, and it would behoove us to listen to those things without prejudice long before we decide to, long before science figures out a way to prove that they exist, because we would then not miss the thousands of years or the hundreds of years or the decades in our own personal lives of opportunity to actually glean from those deep and ancient wisdoms. So I love to put these things together for people and allow our right brain, our deep hearts, and our left brain and our need for proof and evidence to kind of meet up in a place where it actually makes our life better, faster. So when energy flows freely, you feel balanced and aligned and fully alive. And when energy becomes stuck or disrupted, it disrupts the entire system. We start to feel weak and out of sorts, and we start to feel disconnected from purpose or from passion. And that is why alignment matters. Surrounding all of this is a toric field, a continuous self-regenerating field of energy cycling up through your body, out through the crown, and all around, again, behind you, in front of you, to the left of you, and to the right of you. So let me just explain. This energy pours down through your system, hits the earth, and rises up again, and it cycles around the outside of the body, and then comes back in at the tailbone and rises up through the central channel again and out the crown of the head, and it just keeps recycling and recycling in a regenerative way. And all the while, we have the opportunity to enhance that or to interrupt it, and that's the point. So when it is doing its cycling process, we're healing. We're digesting foods properly. We are metabolizing life properly. We're regenerating our juice and having enough, to get through the next day. And more than get through the next day, we have enough left over to become innovative and creative and a visionary in our lives. So this is a bridge between the physical body and the energetic world. It is how we are engaging as an energy being right here in this physical life. And so when the field is flowing, you feel connected. When it is disrupted by stress or trauma or disconnect in terms of a drama, prolonged stress, a belief that you hold inside of you at some deep level that basically states that you're alone and it's all up to you and you feel victimized. And if you do that long enough, it might as well be true, because we create the circuitry to prove what it is that we're holding as true on some deep and unknowing level. And so we feel out of balance. We feel like life is never really handing us the opportunity that we want, or then later we become apathetic or agitated and feel like it owes it to us, that people owe us something. And it's subtle and it's almost imperceivable, and yet we're always walking around with an edge or an agitation in some way. And so if this is true for you, then listen in, because this is speaking to you in ways that you're certainly going to be able to unfold that into something better. The entire system, this whole unified field, remember, and the compressions into this central channel. So think of it as this unified field compresses and compresses and compresses into, think of it as a funnel that's pouring into a channel, that's pouring right into your central core of your body and hitting the earth and rising up and activating these levels of consciousness that become cycling centers called chakras that we know. And this whole big toric field, it's all a foundation for living awake if we begin to recognize this whole invisible anatomy. And we need to recognize this whole invisible anatomy. So the art of awakening is truly about animating all of the aspects of these ingredients that I just shared with you and getting them to work together in a unified way, because then we have the power of the universe, this unified field. Think of it as the cosmos, as the entire universe. We have the power of all of that running our whole system. And this is what science is actually showing us. If you put the pieces together of different scientific research projects and the facts that are being revealed to us, we end up with this recipe that I'm speaking to you about now. At the most fundamental level, quantum science shows that the building blocks of reality, even the space between all the particles and all the things that we learn about waves and particles and the foundation of quantum science altogether, they're all influenced by awareness and our intention, our come from. So I love to speak about intention as a come from because it makes it really personal. People can set an intention, but they can do that with their head. They can do it with their mind. And if your heart and your lived experience isn't aligned with that, your intentions do not manifest. They cannot, because your physical body has everything to do with your physical life experience here in the physical dimension. So what we know is this energy that I'm talking about that compresses into form, it is based in consciousness, how it comes into form. What we think and believe and how we engage in our come from has everything to do with the arrangement of these energies as they come together and formulate the people and the places and the things that we experience in our lives, which means that your thoughts are not just abstract. They are actively shaping your experience, shaping your world. And those are not just your conscious thoughts, the ones that you mean to be thinking. They're also the subconscious patterns that are playing out in your life all the time. They are the influences of how you interpret what happens, how you see what's going on, your translation of what you're supposed to then do next. It's all influenced by what you hold as true at a conscious or subconscious level. So, are you using your mind to support your life? Or is it secretly tearing down things behind the scenes, all the while that you're making these conscious efforts to move forward? So, next we're going to explore bioenergetics. Bioenergetics, big word. All it means is the energy in your body. That's it. So, the study of how energy creates the body is bioenergetics. When energy flows, we heal. When energy is blocked, we struggle. It's like a river. When it flows, everything thrives. When it is blocked, everything downstream becomes stagnant and affected. And so the epigenetics that we know about, that references the little antennas on the surface of your cells that are constantly receiving energetic impulses and then creating chemistries in your body that generate neurotransmission, that generate how you perceive yourself and your life and your world. Epigenetics shows that your genes aren't actually your destiny. Your behaviors and your emotional state and your environment that you create consciously and subconsciously, you're generating your reaction to what's going on in the world. It all influences how your genes express. So it's not just what you inherit genetically, it's how you live. Now, you may have inherited some patterns and ways of thinking and some beliefs that maybe aren't serving you. So we definitely want to take a look at how we're operating in such ways. Is it because it's how we really feel, or is it because that's how our parents felt about something? We inherit that as well. And actually, what science is showing us is that that has more of an impact on you than anything else. So when you begin to see life as energy in motion, you realize your thoughts, emotions, and your body are all part of the same system. It's one thing. Now, let's bring this whole thing right into the body. Your central nervous system is your control center, or so we think. It's what actually receives information and then determines how you're going to process and respond in the actions that you're going to take in your life. There's a threshold, what I call the trap door, between the conscious and the subconscious mind. And it is the thalamic gate, if you like fancy terms, and it's where the hypothalamus and the thalamus are supposed to be talking to each other. And the reason for that is we want our internal truth to be able to collaborate with our external reality and not have one weighted over the other, but allow them to be in constant communication so that we can determine what is relevant for us based upon our environment. And we can also well be in touch with what is true for me inside. And how can I bring that up and not allow it to be suppressed just because everyone around me isn't thinking the same way? Maybe you live in a family that isn't quite as interested in innovation and creativity and self-illumination and awakening and self-healing as much as you are. So does that mean you're supposed to suppress your desire to know these things and to work with these things on a regular basis? Or does it mean that you are to bring it anyway and shower it everywhere you go in an unconditional fashion, where you're not double checking and making sure they're listening to you and respecting you and getting it. You're recognizing at the same time that you are whole and complete, and you're here to emanate and radiate all that you can become aware of, come in contact with, and truly celebrate in this life. And so if we are opening that trap door, we're able to operate in such a way. And if the trap door slams shut, we get locked in a state of defensive, protective, circumstances. And those are the energies that we are running on. And then we become defensive and protective and guarded. And then it affects us when someone doesn't agree with us. It affects us because we don't feel loved or appreciated. But when this trapdoor is open, the love that is pouring in through this central channel and recycling in this toric field is as unconditional as it gets. And it is a felt sense of wholeness and the same kind of appreciation that you would have if everybody around you agreed with you. But suddenly you realize that's not what you need at all. And it's not that you go away because you don't need it. It's that you stay in an unconditional fashion, free. And that is living awake. So most of what drives the average individual is happening below that level of the trap door. Most of what drives us is the unconscious desire to belong, to connect, and to feel loved, and to feel worthy. But when you bring awareness to it, you begin to shift how you respond. When this trap door opens and this is flooding you and you're feeling it flood you and you're receiving it, everything begins to change. So your body thrives in balance. Your internal chemistry, your endocrine system, your breath, hydration, all influence how energy flows through your system. Most of all, what affects how energy flows through your system is what you allow to be true about you. What you allow to be true about your greatness and your magnificence versus waiting for that to be proven or waiting for someone else to deliver that kind of feedback. So simple practices like deep breathing, hydration, mindful eating help restore that balance. And most of all, changing how you feel on the inside by softening and allowing and becoming the truth of who you are restores that balance. When the body is supported, energy can move the way that it's designed to. And as you begin to access this deeper intelligence within you that keeps filling and filling because it's pouring in from, my goodness, the entire universe, something else starts to shift. Now, just how you think becomes a whole new picture. It becomes not just how you think, but how you experience reality yourself. Because what's actually changing is your internal state, your come from. That's what I'm talking about. That state, that come from, is reflected in brainwave activity. It's reflected in the simple way that you respond to what's going on around you. It's reflected in the amount of begin again that you carry, that you walk with, that you embrace as a value. And so when this brainwave activity begins to shift, we start to recognize, your brain operates in different brainwave states. We know that, right? We know that each state shapes how you feel and create and experience your life. Gamma states are heightened awareness and insight, and full integration occurs in these gamma states, unless you're disconnected. When you're disconnected, those gamma states are the complete freak out and frenzy that you experience when nothing's going the way that you want it to, and you're just all up in arms. You're getting up into those frequencies for all the wrong reasons. But when you're integrated, it literally, the same frequencies in your brain reflect super consciousness, your ability to perceive that you are here in this world, but you're not of this world. You're of a higher vibrational nature, and you're just here in a project. You're here in a project of contributing to how humanity can release the binds of their belief systems altogether and be free and flowing. They're not having to hold on to the riverbanks. That's what beliefs are doing. And yet this river is gushing and rushing through. And so our beliefs are causing friction. The things that we hold as true about ourselves, like our unworthiness or our insufficiency or our inadequacy in some way, none of it's real. And when we can let go of that and allow this flow to flow, then gamma frequencies get to take on a whole different role in our lives. And then we have beta frequencies, where the active mind is analyzing and solving problems and doing, and most of us spend our time right here, just learning and figuring it out and doing a process and, figuring and comparing and competing and all that stuff. It's right there. It's right there. And when it's disintegrated, it's so painful, you're never satisfied. It's never enough. It never comes around and gets to be celebrated as, oh my gosh, yes, this is it. This is it. I'm living in it. This is beautiful. When it is integrated, however, this beta state allows you to take cosmic principles, truly, that become obvious to you in the integrated state of what I'm describing, and take those principles and turn them into points of relevant application in your life, so that you can see and sense that this bigger truth, that I am whole and complete, and it is never ending, and that I will always be that, and I have always been that, and that everything that is happening in my life is actually happening in my favor. When we're integrated, that's how we start translating in beta. We start translating, oh, I see, this is happening so that I can reach inside myself and find a bigger, better version of myself than I have ever expressed before. That's beta in its right face, in its right use, right? So we could spend our time in that analyzing, thinking mind, but in not for purposes of survival, but for purposes of creativity, where there's not an edge to it. There's a flourishing joy to that use. Because we know that when we get into alpha frequency and we get lower into delta or even into theta frequencies, we know that we experience a greater sense of calm and presence. However, we can't meditate all the time. We can't close our eyes and sit down to meditate all the time. There's something else we have to be doing in this life, that we're meant to be doing in this life. And so we reach into alpha and we reach into delta and we reach into theta frequencies, and we discover the version of us that is already at peace, that is calm and relaxed and present and receptive. And when we come to know those parts of us, we memorize them, we engage in them, we allow epigenetics to pick up on, whoa, that beautiful stillness that is part of my heart and my deep core wisdom itself. It's a part of me. It's the real me. For goodness sakes, it feels so good. And then we don't forget it when we come up and out of that meditative state and begin to live and make decisions and engage with people. So we know that alpha frequency is the one that everybody's shooting for, right? The trees operate at alpha frequency. The earth operates at alpha frequency. You bet you're designed to be operating at alpha frequency. And so those lower frequencies that we're headed into talking about are what balance out these higher frequencies when we're disconnected. We need that so that we can find a place to settle, so that we can stop that runaway mind and allow this beautiful wisdom that is being cultivated inside of our system, inside that central channel all the time. We give it a chance to rise up and to create impressions in our awareness, impressions of wholeness and impressions of creativity, impressions of belonging. And then we're able to care and exchange in different ways. So I'm hoping that it's, tapping you in the mind saying, oh, this is what's going on with humanity right now. They're completely out of touch and disconnected. That's why war seems to be the answer. That's why being a bigger bully seems to be, the choice du jour, when all the while we know in our heart of hearts that that's not the long-lasting way of being. And so we worry, are we ever going to be able to return to such things? You bet we are, especially because of you, because you're leaning in and you're listening and you're recalling something greater than the moment of current events. You're going to tap into the timeless version of you that resides in this deep core channel. And by doing so, you're going to have access to the solutions instead of just thriving or striving on the problems at hand. So, one thing that we can do immediately to start to integrate and to allow all of this to actually come together in a beautiful usage, right? A valuable usage of what we're learning is to just start taking deep breaths. Just start breathing deeper in your body. Discover a deeper place to breathe into all the time. Don't just breathe in your chest. Don't just breathe in your heart. Breathe in your solar plexus. Oh my gosh. You start stretching up in that solar plexus and you're going to feel like a different person. Breathe lower, even still, in your belly. Get into that deep wisdom center below the navel and breathe there. Breathe deep belly breaths and allow all of it to settle down and to sit inside of the truth of who you are instead of getting riled up and pulled up into beta and gamma in a disintegrated way. Save that for an integrated moment in your life when you begin to awaken to higher and higher states of consciousness. Those higher and higher states of consciousness reside in beta and gamma, but you have to be integrated in order to utilize them for anything. Otherwise, you feel so whacked out that nobody wants to be around you. And if they do, it's just because they're just as whacked out. And so you get over, come over and have some tea, have whacked out tea. Let's have some whacked out tea together today and commiserate. No, let's not. Let's do this instead, okay? So when we move even deeper still by that deep breathing and by slowing down and opening up some space in between your thoughts and recognizing there are so many thoughts that I think that are completely unnecessary, I'm just not going to do it because I'm going to save that energy for something more valuable. I'm going to save that energy to feed my heart, to feed my gut, and to feed my sense of self, and to feed the stillness that I'm now aware of and curious about. And I want to feed that. And the way that we feed the stillness is to stop thinking all the time, because we think thoughts a percentage of the day that are so unnecessary that by the end of the day, we have spent 80% of our energy on something that never needs to happen, that never will happen, or that has already happened, and that we don't need to be rethinking, rehashing, but we do because we're disconnected until we're not. And so when we move down into theta, deep creativity, insights, healing, that's what happens here. Sound interesting? You bet it does. And so this is where integration begins. This is what happens. And so practices like central channel breathing move you here, breathing up and down this central channel with your awareness. So to do that, you take a breath from overhead and you breathe right down through the center of your brain and through the center of your throat and through the center of your chest and all the way down into your belly, and don't stop until you get there. Just inhale all the way to a big belly breath. And then when you exhale, you pull your navel back to the spine and let that energy rush down through the pelvic floor and into the earth beneath where you sit. And then you take another breath up from the earth, because remember, the earth is alpha to begin with. So you're slowing way down. So you breathe that breath up from the earth into your belly. And then you exhale up through your heart and your throat and the center of your brain and out the top of your head. And that central channel breath moves you into theta just by true nature, because it's a full system integration. We're honoring that whole big unified field, that funnel, that channel, that whole toric field, everything that I've been just briefly sharing with you today. The whole thing kind of gets turned on. It starts to connect, and the parts of the system start to work together. And the next thing you know, we're operating in an integrated fashion. Now, we know that an even deeper state from meditation, which is, inside of theta, and meditative states occur in theta and delta. We get into this deep, deep space. Now, there are, in a disintegrated individual, it only shows up like deep sleep. You got to conk out, slept like a rock. That's delta frequency. The full system gets to reset under those circumstances. We feel better eventually when we come up out of that. But there are other ways to reach this delta in an integrated and conscious way, and it has to do with learning to meditate It has to do with slowing down your breath, bringing your attention into your low pelvis, right into the base of your spine or behind your belly button, right behind the navel, right down in there. If you just keep your attention there as you're breathing slower and slower and slower, what begins to happen is your brain waves start to slow and spread out into delta, where there's a stillness about you that you crave. Because this is the foundation of your being. It is the stillness of infinite possibility. The unified field operates in that kind of stillness. And so that's what we want, because it reminds us of the truth of who we are. We get back to that super expanded state because there's nothing happening. We're available. So when you begin to bring it all together, your thoughts, your energy, your environment, your nervous system, you start to see from a bigger picture perspective. You're not just a physical being. You're not just a human being. You're an energetic being that is being human. All right? There's a difference. So you're not only human. And so every time we say, look, I'm just human, we're actually limiting our possibilities. Yes, we have to handle ourselves with tender, loving care as we're waking up to these realities that I'm speaking about. But as we do, we begin to recognize that there is a superhuman quality to us, that we are a super sensory and we are super capable of beginning again, and allowing this energy to flow into our system is a great start, because now you're not running on your own energy, you're running on borrowed energy from the universe, and you're giving it back. You're not trying to hold on to and live as a separate self. So we become aligned and we become creative as we flow. We move out of survival mode in this set of circumstances, and we move into a creator mode, a creative mode, right? You stop reacting to life and you begin creating your life. Now, it's always good to stop reacting and start responding, but there's even more available to you. Because in that moment where you're realizing, okay, I'm not going to react, I'm going to take some breaths and create some space here, and then I'm going to give a response, in that moment, you actually also allow some creative energy, some creative essence to surface, to come in and to surface and to be part of your response. And what you'll find, if you give yourself permission to do so, what you'll find is that you are actually bringing you to the party. You're bringing your innovative ideas as well. You're able to see, by not knee-jerk reacting to things and pausing and breathing deeper in the belly and doing that regularly, you're able to start to see, oh my gosh, I see how the world is so reactive and so caught up in fight or flight. And I'm going to bring something completely different to this moment. I'm going to create in it, not just deal with whatever people want me to deal with. Maybe I can offer up a solution, a perspective that is an entirely different come from than the people that I'm responding to are anticipating or coming from in their own right. You shift from fear to freedom under these circumstances, and this is the foundation of living awake. That's it. So it's a way to start. Now, in part 2, we're going to go deeper into how you experience this directly, how you can begin to practice it, and how you can embody this way of living, because that's where it's the most important. But if we don't have this as a context to work with, then all of the practices and all of the doing in life is just another practice. And, I hear people say all the time, I've read the books, I listen to the doodah, the podcasts, or the courses, or the interviews, or the what have you, and it's just, things just don't work for me. And the reason is this embodiment piece is missing. That's the reason. And so I don't want it to be missing in your world. I want to bring that forward. And the way to do that is in 2 parts. This first one is giving you this bigger picture context. And we're going to dive in and give you some real things that you can work with on a daily basis, allow on a moment-by-moment basis, and experience in the whole of your life. So this is what awakening is all about. So thank you for joining me today on the Art of Awakening podcast, where we're blending science and spirituality all the time to create a life that you truly do love living. So remember to subscribe, and please do share this episode and the next one with people, because we need it right now like never before, because right now is our opportunity. It's not that we need it because things are so horrible. We need it because things are so open and available right now for us to live and to grow and to awaken in ways that no other set of circumstances could ever provide. So here we are, right on time. All right? So until next time, I'm Dr. Sue Morter. Blessings to you all, and I can't wait to share the rest of this with you. Bye-bye for now.